keep on kissing babies and hugging fat girls.
You are a sniveling little suck-up sellout full of suffering succotash, son.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin! And you t-shirts are too tight too, Billy! And you book a match with me against Ryan Keelan! Look at me! I'm a total package! I will rip him apart! I'm pissed now! Where to, Stephanie?
WrestleRoasts on ad-free shows and ATC. Well, it's the big pod. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the roast of the big show, aka WrestleRoasts. Before we start off, I just want to thank everybody for listening to the roast of Bret Hart last week. It was one of our best episodes ever, and it was one of our most listened to episodes ever. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you all wrestling podcasts who've been putting me up the last week. I appreciate it. Speaking.
Yes. Fuck you, Dan.
By the way, 95% of our listens last week came from one computer in Calgary, Alberta.
We're all getting a handwritten letter in the mail explaining why what we did was wrong.
Nobody, we haven't heard from Bret. Here's why I think we'll never hear from Bret Hart. Because we said he was a good wrestler, and that's all Bret gives a shit about. But joining us today, he's been on the show before. He's from WrestleZone. He's a great guy, funny guy. Put your hands together for Dominic D'Angelo, everybody. What's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me. It's well, you guys are ruthless. Let me tell you, with the Bret Hart, I could not believe my jaw dropped when I was listening to some of that shit.
Look, you can make fun of me for cheating on my wife and being estranged from the rest of my family, but as long as you admit I had a 2.5-star match with Jean-Pierre Lafitte, I'm good.
I'm gold, man.
I will say, to that point, PCO did listen to the roast and said he enjoyed it. So
really?
Yeah, he dropped me a note that he thought it was very funny. So
PCO is the best, man. I mean, like I remember when I worked with him at MLW, Joey Janela's thing. That's where you worked.
So all of a sudden you're stealing my story.
Dan just tells other people's stories as his life, and he accidentally told you your story.
Yeah, no. I went up to him beforehand, and he was very sweet. He explained his Frankenstein gimmick to me. It was like the opposite of what a monster does, you know. Like it was awesome.
It's a Canadian monster. He's very polite.
He's very polite, but folks, we got to get this show going. We got a big bastard to roast later in the show. We'll get to that. But before we do that, let's start out with the 10 count. Number 1, is Bobby Lashley the silliest voice champion of all time? Mike, since you're the one who came up with this, do you think he has the least intimidating, not the worst voice? I'm gonna clarify this because we make fun of people's promos all the time. Do you think he has the least intimidating voice out of any WWE champion in history?
It's up there. I mean, Chyna comes close.
Well, she wasn't a world champion, though. I'm talking about WWE.
Yeah, but she's a champion, you know. She got as far as they allowed her to at the time. I'd say it's her. I mean, her voice is horrible. Bobby's is up there, like, because like he starts to talk and you realize why he's a Bobby and not a Robert.
Could you imagine if Bobby Lashley had our co-host Robert Karpeles' voice? He'd be a champion for 10 years.
He'd be like talking about being a champion and also why he hates the company at the same time.
So he'd be Bret Hart.
Robert, what do you think? First off, before we even get into that, I want to say my opinion. I thought the Raw where he won was very good. I mean, I know that some people like Meltzer and Alvarez have kind of shit on it, but I watched the whole thing and they didn't. And apparently they gained in younger viewers. So
because he sounds like them. But I think that he's a guy that they had a lot with for years, and the Hurt Business gimmick was the right gimmick. he deserves the championship now. This is the right gimmick. This is the right character. It's just when they tried to make him a baby-voiced baby face, it didn't work.
Yeah, here's the problem. We're excited about him being champion, and then he has to lose, right, at Mania.
Yeah, he does.
It's a little
Are you
weird.
implying he's a transition champion of some sort? As if I'm leaning into where we're going with this conversation.
Well, we won't. We'll be going there. But Robert,
Yeah, but
Robert,
silliest
does the voice take away for you for the championship or no?
It did years ago because his voice did used to be higher. He's the only 40-something-year-old whose balls finally dropped, and now he sounds a little bit better. And MVP has been his mouthpiece, and that's what he's needed this whole time.
Yep.
The silliest voice champion of all time has to be Sheamus. I can't take anything he says seriously ever. I used to just transcribe what he was saying, and if I just transcribed it and just add R's into what he's saying, it's the most ridiculous sounding person. As physically imposing as Sheamus is, he looks ridiculous. He sounds ridiculous. Lashley right now looks like a killer, and by not letting him go out there and A, talk, or B, talk with the scripted promos he used to get during my tenure there, where, it was high pitched and goofy, or even some of the stuff they gave him with like his sisters and all this other nonsense.
Oh, that was fucking
right
trash.
Now he's just
Slapping
he
his
goes
ass.
out there, he kills people, and you were genuinely scared for the Miz when the Miz got in the ring with him, and that was why this was effective, and that's why Raw worked to a certain degree.
He looks and dresses like a prize fighter now. It's awesome. And MVP has that kind of Don King, like promoter, vibe. It's really fun.
Scotty, you brought up, Bobby's probably going to lose to Lashley at WrestleMania. I'm not sure. Like, Lashley has the physical, both physically, Drew and Lashley are exactly what Vince looks for. And if Lashley is more over by the time WrestleMania happens, I think he's going to keep the belt on Lashley. I don't know. What do you think, Scott?
I hope so. Yeah, that's what I would want. I think, Drew didn't work out, man, unfortunately.
Well, do we know?
And,
we didn't have a
and
crowd.
Things are opening up, and guess what? He was our COVID champion, and adios, pal. Masks off.
No
Dan.
chance.
No more Drew.
Dan, he did have a crowd. It's called the ratings, which Roman helped lift up because he's an interesting character, and they've been cratering with Drew because he's not.
Well, I mean, the opening match between Sheamus and Drew was awesome. I thought it was a championship caliber match.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this is real, but we not only got a handicapper, but we got the best ever. So I got to ask, how are you so good at handicapping these games? I mean, 4-0, that's quite a streak already.
Well, let's talk about every pick I've given this year in the NFL as an example. 23-8. Every pick I've given this year. 4 weeks in the bag, 23-8. There's nobody in the country that can match what I do, but I always make sure, because anybody, Conrad, could make up anything. They could tell you and blow smoke and tell you, oh, I'm the greatest. But I am independently monitored and documented, so nobody could ever question what I say and go, I don't believe it. I send every pick to an independent monitoring and documentation service that has to get the pick before the game goes off and then publishes it after the game goes off so anybody can see what I gave. And those picks for the year, every NFL pick so far, 23-8. And I think it's because I do more homework than anybody else. The average guy or gal watching this podcast, they don't have time. They have a career, they have jobs. They might read the newspaper or go online and see something, but they don't have time 80 hours a week to study the games. That's what I do. And I have a crew of guys behind me, my consultants, who every week we get together 3 times a week and they throw their ideas at me. I throw my ideas at them. And then I pick the final 5 plays on Saturday and Sunday in college and pro football. So, I've got a great team behind me too, but we're all doing together hundreds of hours of homework. So you don't have to. It's all at vegaswinners.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to vegaswinners.com right now. Let's win some money.
only thing
Drew's
Drew's been
awesome.
doing with a live crowd is the beach balls that would be knocked around during his boring ass promo.
Oh, I think that's a little.
Here's the problem with Drew is not with Drew, it's how Vince booked him. When Drew was first on the rise, when he won the Royal Rumble last year, he had all this momentum going into WrestleMania. His promos were interesting, and he was allowed to be a smart babyface. He wasn't falling for stupid traps. He wasn't going out there and saying suffer and succotash. He was cutting what were pretty genuine promos, but they made sense. Then at some point they course corrected, and Vince is like, no, you just need to be the I'm gonna fight anybody, I'm Braveheart babyface. And that's brutal when he's actually charismatic and he's funny, and when he's passionate. And right now he's slowly starting to get back there. But it's going to take a lot to wash the taste out of everyone's mouth for the last 4 or 5 months of directionless, bland babyface.
Yeah, he's duller than the sword he never uses.
Dominic, are you a Drew guy or are you a Lashley guy?
So, I mean, I think I liked Drew's run so far, but I do think at this point they have to keep the belt on Lashley. Like he won it. He just fucking won it, and you're gonna like take it off him right after he wins it, like within a month. I don't think you can build a story that makes it make sense to that point. Lashley as a champ, he looks the part, and I think McIntyre played the part very well, but there is that overhang of it being during the pandemic era. Probably just a bad connotation for a lot of fans to that. I think Drew is very, very charismatic and can deliver a hell of a promo, especially if he's relaxed and comfortable in his skin and, the position that he's at. But ultimately, yeah, I think you got to keep the belt on Bobby. And would Andre the Giant count for a funny voice?
Well, let's go into that. The second part of this was who is the greatest transitional champion of all time? For me, it's Mick Foley, and it's not even close. Like Mick Foley, I mean, he was the transition between, The Rock and Austin, even though The Rock had it when he dropped it to Austin. I don't know. For me, it was just like Foley was never really the champ. He was always, putting over The Rock. That was his role is to get over The Rock. And he got over The Rock like 3 times. Like he was the guy who got The Rock ready for Austin at Mania 15. So that's my choice. How about you, Dominic?
Ooh, I would have to. Foley's a good one. Gosh, as my favorite one though, yikes. I'm thinking though.
Andre's a pretty good answer.
Andre's a good one. I guess it would make sense to be the Sheik, right? Or Ivan Koloff. He transitioned it. Didn't he transition from Bruno to was it Billy? Was it Billy Graham
Pedro.
after that? Pedro, thank you. Yeah, it was Pedro.
That's Mike's answer.
Yeah, I think just from the memorable win that he defeated Bruno, I think I would give it to Ivan.
Interesting. Scotty.
Yeah. JBL was a big one. I remember constantly, or at least he
was
felt
he transitional
not
though?
Important.
Right.
Sometimes when you feel not important, you feel transitional.
But he had the title from SummerSlam to Mania. That's a run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just built up for Cena to slaughter him. So by default, I would say he was a transitional champion.
Guys, what about this one? And I don't know if it was the intention when it happened, but it definitely happened, and I hated it. Benoit winning at Mania and then losing at SummerSlam. I hated that. Was that transitional?
That was not that was course correction. That wasn't transitional. That was they wanted to put the engine behind him, and it was going to be Benoit and Guerrero. And then they started to hear Chris Benoit's promos, and they realized, oh shit, we can't stick with this. And Randy Orton was too hot. They had to pull the trigger on that.
They're like, Chris, just talk to the audience like it's your wife and kids.
Yeah, someone went to a fortune teller and they were like, Vince, you're not going to believe what I saw on a crystal ball. We cannot back this guy.
Well, to me, I brought up this topic, just to say, I don't know if Bobby is one yet, but The Miz definitely was because he had it for 1 week. That to me, transitional champion.
Yeah, like Kane. Kane.
See, I
felt
think
like
to me the best transitional champion, and because it was so memorable, was Bob Backlund. Not the first run, the second run, where he's the guy who beats Bret Hart, which was such a shocking moment, and then losing to Diesel in like 30 seconds in Madison Square Garden at a house show is something I vividly remember to this day, seeing it on television when they announced it was on like Mania on a Saturday morning. And it was a true holy shit moment. It immediately propelled Diesel up to the top. And that's what a transitional champion is supposed to do. He moved the title from Brett to Diesel and launched a new era. Was it a great era? Debatable. But at that point in time, he made Diesel feel important. Miz, in my opinion, was probably the worst transitional champion, not this go around, but the last time, because he was never once treated seriously as champion. He won the title as a fluke. They let him main event WrestleMania when you knew that he wasn't real, and he was just there to forward the Rock Cena storyline. And then by the time he finally lost the title, it had lost a lot of credibility. And it wasn't from the lack of him trying, but they gave him he feuded with Jerry Lawler and John Morrison.
Yeah, I remember it the Fastlane, like their Fastlane, or it was Elimination Chamber before Mania. He had a match against Lawler, which was kind of a bizarre.
And it was about like
Lawler. I'm sorry. I remember that like Lawler was kind of like, well, in a real fight, Lawler would beat the shit out of this guy, you know, like. Mike, sorry. Yes.
No, I was gonna say, like, yeah, the feud was over that like Lawler had just lost his mom, and like the Miz was making fun. It was the weirdest thing. But the Nas Hate Me Now opening video package for the WrestleMania main event almost makes up for it. I think that's a top 5 package. That Mania sucks, the match sucks, but Miz in the control room listening to Nas is fucking amazing.
Yes, but then they had the big inflatable Miz letters that he knocks away, and it's like, well, there went that.
Yeah, well, my pick is Stan Stasiak, and he's the guy who who beats Pedro and then loses to Bruno a week later. But I was reading on his Wikipedia that he said the 9 days he held the title were the happiest 9 days of his life, which I feel bad for Sean Stasiak. But it's amazing because Bruno, like Dom was saying, like when he lost to Koloff, that was 8 years, and then he loses it, and that's it. Like, and then he gains it again for like 5 more years. Which is insane. And
hey, what about Taker? Would Taker be a transitional champion?
Absolutely.
Every time he held the title?
Yeah, I mean, almost every time Taker held the title, with maybe the exception of him winning at 13, he was a transitional champion. Right? Am I wrong on that, Robert? Zach?
It sounds like an insult, but it's not. I mean, it's still the Undertaker.
He's one of those guys that they don't need at the top as champion. But yeah, him being the champion was trying to sell this Tuesday in Texas pay-per-view, the first go round, with shocking, beating Hogan, and it's like, oh my God, we gotta tune in and see what we're gonna get. But Taker as a long-term champion isn't needed, because you can have a world title picture and you can have an Undertaker feud, and that propels an episode of SmackDown. There's your 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock hours right there. When you put the title on Undertaker, you lose your extra attraction.
I'm curious, how would you guys rank where would you position Miz's current transition? Did you ultimately think it paid off and it was a good job for a 1 week run?
I did. I know other people did not, but I thought he did a pretty good job the past week. I mean, he made the whole, I watched Raw from beginning to end, and I was, of course there were things I thought were kind of lame, but I at the end of it, I felt like, I was emotionally paid off when I saw the tears in Lashley's eyes, and I felt rewarded as a viewer.
Total home run. Miz, for a little while, I've been saying he's USA Network's MVP. He's got 3 shows on the network. So by winning the title, even for a week, he was able to do media. He was able to promote stuff. When they ultimately do the Miz and Mrs. episodes about him winning the title, and they can have him going home and showing the championship to his kid, they're going to run the hell out of those commercials for months down the road. And he's now been reinvigorated. So when he goes into this Bad Bunny feud, he's now quote unquote important, because there's fresh pictures of him with the world title. It's not pictures of him from 10 years ago. And those are stupid little things WWE thinks about as they go forward, by saying Bad Bunny and Damian Priest are taking on the most recent former WWE champion.
That's a good way to look at it too.
And I think Drew works better as a challenger, and Lashley as the guy holding the belt with MVP, cutting these promos about being champ. I think it's just a much better Mania match than if you do it the other way around.
I agree with that. Zach, are you more of a Lashley guy or a Drew guy?
Lashley all the way right now. This is the best stuff other than Roman.
Dan asked that while wearing a kilt. He's wearing a kilt.
I know, man. I feel like I feel like those Bret Hart fans in the mid '90s, but with Drew. Like, just give him a shot.
So
I'm right there with
yeah.
you, and Dominic, all due respect, but I think that the way they're going to be able to sell Lashley losing and it being important isn't, since he's been in the Hurt business, he's only, I think, lost to one guy, and that was losing to Drew. He's been pretty much undefeated ever since. So once they start telling that story, that Lashley has been, because he didn't get pinned to lose the U.S. title, he's essentially been undefeated since last May. They can heat him up pretty quickly over the next 35 or 40 days to tell that story.
I didn't even think about it. They'd really have protected him over the course of the past year and stuff. So
I hope their fucking booking committee looks at like, okay, so if we have a guy we want to protect, we don't have him feud with someone that can beat him, like instead of, because so many times, I mean, how many times have they just ruined feuds because they decided to have that match on like Raw? Because I was thinking about post-Mania challengers for Roman, if Roman keeps the title, and the natural fit would be Finn, right? But because they already kind of had a classic match on a Raw, I don't need to see it anymore. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, there's so many of those matches that have been like done and played on like the mainstream television, not saved for a big time pay-per-view. It's like, what dream matches can you even formulate now at this point in time? A lot of the times.
No, I say that if Prince Muhammad was a fan for a couple weeks in 2005, we will have Lashley be champion for a while.
Yes, but he's already put his request in for a rematch with Umaga. That's what I want to see.
They make Jey Uso gain like 100 pounds.
That's what Jimmy's been doing. That's why we haven't seen him.
Number 2, Connor versus Finn, Randy Orton versus Soulja Boy. If you're washed up, do you just tweet at a wrestler now? That's kind of what I got off of this week. I'm like, is Catherine McPhee gonna like tweet Sasha Banks to prove she's easy to work with again? Like, what, is this gonna be a new trend? Or all the guys that got like is it gonna be like Kevin Spacey is gonna try to like fight Apollo Crews or something? I don't know. What did you guys think of these? Did you think of these Twitter spats, and do you think this is just the sign of times to come? We'll start with you, Mike.
Well, you know that someone must be writing Finn and Connor's tweets for them because the C word wasn't used, which like, and for two Irish guys to like talk and even pretend to be angry at each other, that's not going to happen. I love the Randy Orton Soulja Boy feud so much because like whether it's, they're in on it or not, like Randy Orton, after arguing with his evil self, being the face of integrity in pro wrestling is the greatest thing.
What do you think, Robert?
I mean, obviously, I'm all in the bag on Orton. What was so great about him was not only did he dissect Soulja Boy for being an idiot, he attacked his career with like pinpoint accuracy. He's like, I'm a hip hop fan. Here are all the artists I like. It's great you had that one hit song in 2007. Thanks for trying to be relevant. Like he destroyed him without even him getting into the ring.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
haven't had a hit since I shat in Melina's bag.
He hasn't had a hit since January at the Legends show.
Oh man. Hey Randy, come on our fucking show, dude. What do we got to do? You are the WrestleRoasts favorite comedian. You need to come on. Also, like Randy, it's just funny because like all these people will feud with Randy and like they forget that Randy knows how to use Google. So remember like a couple months ago, like Tony Khan and Randy got in it and like Randy just tweeted out a article shitting all over Tony Khan's dad.
Yeah, that was great. But this isn't what happened, right? Soulja Boy didn't really start this. Soulja Boy just said, sometimes hip hop, whatever, is faker than wrestling, like something along those lines.
Yeah.
He didn't at anybody. that's a very common thing to say. Blank is faker than wrestling. And then Randy Orton is just like, trust me, Randy Orton, whether he knows what hit Soulja Boy has, he thinks he's 14. And he's just yelling at him. It didn't make any sense to me. I thought it was really corny.
Do you? Here's a question, Scott. Who do you want to see Connor fight when he comes to WWE? Because in my mind, he's definitely going to come.
So you'd hope Finn, right? But I don't think Vince would want that. There's no chance in hell. So
he's got to be working as a baby face, right? So
Sheamus.
Ugh.
Yeah,
it'll be Sheamus. Yeah,
fucking kill me.
Yeah, they both have funny accents, and or
Vince he'll do Drew over Sheamus, dude. He will not wait Sheamus on that.
Because you're not gonna have Connor.
They're not
lose.
the same
You're not gonna have
thing,
Drew
though.
lose. You're not gonna. Yeah, you can have Sheamus lose. I mean, Vince is still probably pushing for Big Show Connor. Like no one's broken the news to him that Big Show's gone. But
I want to see. The promo wise, there's nothing better than Connor Cena. Like that's the promo fight you want to see. But I don't know. Like I think Cena's. I don't know. I don't know when the next time we're gonna see Cena is.
Honestly, in a perfect world, Connor's Sami Zayn, but I know that would never happen. But I think that'd be fun to watch.
I could see them do Connor Hunter.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah, I can see them doing it.
Yeah. Fucking Vince would walk out there to fight Connor.
Vince would be so excited, but I feel like in his mind, like, well, Vince views Triple H as a top nostalgia star in the same way we view Rock and Austin.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Like, Triple H and Connor, that's going to be, headlines around the world.
But there's a nice look to McMahon versus McGregor. There's something cool about that. I mean, it's going to be Shane, and we'll want to kill ourselves.
Shane.
Yeah.
No, Vince will think it sounds similar. He'll make Connor change his last name. We can't have two Micks. They're going to think they're not going to know the difference between the two of us. We look so similar.
I see it being Triple A. Only I can fight you.
As long as it's not Connor and the Fiend. As long as it's not. As long as
I think that there's still relevancy. Like I think there's way more money in him punching a Paul brother right now. There's like I don't see him doing wrestling anytime soon. And if he does, it will not be on NXT because they will want people to see it.
Well, they would probably bring Finn up if they decided to do it. But as I was saying, like as long as it's not, can you imagine Conor McGregor feuding against the Fiend? He would ruin that gimmick within 3 seconds.
Could you imagine
You're a fat man in a fucking Halloween costume? That would be it. It would be over. Bray would have to go back to being Husky Harris or whatever.
But you also know that he would see Finn, like old footage of Finn as the Demon, and think it's okay to wear blackface.
I could just imagine Vince trying to pitch to Connor, "Hey, I want you to scream like a bitch like Seth Rollins did in Raw." Like to him and be like, I don't know, it's gonna work.
That's a fun feud. Just hey versus.
Hey Dominic, who would you want to see Conor McGregor go up against?
Gosh, if I picked like my choice, it would be I'd like to see Daniel Bryan go at him, and that
would be amazing.
Have like the way that I think the dynamic between Daniel Bryan's babyface promo and the way Connor talks and trash talks, I think it would be a good balance with one another to do. That would be my pick.
You know what, Dan? Since none of us said Braun Strowman, it's definitely going to be Braun Strowman.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Fuck.
What if they got Brock, though? What if they got Brock?
You don't need Brock. I'm shocked no one picked Riddle because Riddle essentially he's the ex-UFC guy who had to leave because he wouldn't stop smoking weed.
Yeah, but nobody like Vince doesn't think. I don't think people actually think. People think that Riddle can't fight. It's the most amazing pro wrestling like blind thing where people think that like somehow Riddle would lose to the tough guys of the 60s. Are you out of your fucking mind? Riddle would dismantle. I can't think of anybody besides Brock that could give him a run for his money in professional wrestling. Can you, Robert? Am I missing somebody?
No, but I concur. What's funny is having worked with Riddle, he has this energy of like he seems very weak and kind of a pushover. And just when you're around him, you're like, oh, I could probably take this guy. And if you Google any video and see what he can do, he's fucking terrifying. He's like Haku of 2021.
Right.
Like there's no way in hell I would ever want to mess with Matt Riddle.
Yeah, but
you
Murdoch.
see,
Dick Murdoch.
but what you
Five
don't, what you
whores
don't,
in a motel once.
but Daniel, what you don't understand is that while Matt Riddle was in Sunday school, Danny Hodge was crushing apples in his hand.
Yeah, all these guys, like, they all think like that these guys they grew up with have these Paul Bunyan like magical powers.
Yeah.
And it's just, dude, they all died at 45 from painkillers. They're
Yeah.
not like
They were all
Dr.
my
Death once
Uncle
fucked
Richie.
a woman so hard he gave her a second asshole.
Oh my god. All right, we're not gonna get better than that. So let's move on to our marquee, our main event. Well, it's the roast of the Big Show. We are roasting the Big Show, folks. And I'm excited about this. Before we start, we saw the Big Show last night, and wearing a no BS shirt.
I liked it. I liked it, guys. Shut up.
Fuck you.
Save your
Scott.
fucking AEW cum for later on
Yeah,
in the show.
what are you talking about? What
Yeah,
is-
man, he did a great job of pushing
was
the
written
Evolution
cool.
pay-per-view, guys.
It was written cool. Like
This
when he
Sunday on
debuted.
Evolution.
We're going to be
It's
roasting
not-
the
this is a
Big
gimmick. You're working a gimmick right now.
We're roasting the
I
Big
thought it
Show.
was
Scott's
cute.
going to be edging for the next hour.
Yeah, I
You just
know.
can't wait till we get to that segment.
I like when wrestling is cute sometimes. That was cute.
Oh,
Hey,
Jesus
guys,
shirt
Christ.
This
Wasn't that
week it's the
fucking-
roast of the Big Show. Next week it's the suck off of Okada.
Even Dominic knows this is bad, even though he clearly is Sean Spears in a costume right now.
I get that.
All right, let's get this roast going. Zach is gonna choose the order. Zach, who do we got first?
Mike's going first this week.
Whoa!
All right.
The roast, the greatest roaster in North America, is going number one. He's taking the bullet.
I gotta say he's underrated and pretty good for a man of his size. But enough about Shaquille O'Neal. We're here to roast the Big Show, a guy who looks like if King Kong Bundy was really into QAnon. If wrestling is a circus, as is often said, then Big Show is that sad, wounded elephant that makes you feel bad for going to the circus. Big Show was discovered by Hulk Hogan at a celebrity basketball game. There were other 7-foot tall guys on the court for Hogan to see, but Paul was the only white. They tried passing him off as Andre the Giant's son, and in retrospect, you see how different they are. Andre never overstayed his welcome. He's done some acting. He had a cameo in The Waterboy, which is also how Leo Rush's name shows up in Vince's phone. If you want to watch him wallow in shit, you can either see Eddie Guerrero dump a septic tank on him or rent Knucklehead. Big Show is known as the world's largest athlete, which is an insult to actual athletes. His moveset somehow got more limited over time. If your finisher goes from being a choke slam to a punch, it's because they don't trust you to do anything else. He was voted PWI Wrestler of the Year in 1996, and I feel like just saying that will hurt Bret Hart's feelings more than our whole roast last week. How reliable can a guy be when he wrestles Undertaker at Mania and Vince says, just to make sure it's good, let's add Albert. Big Show is consistent. He's always gone back and forth between good guy and bad guy with the same high level of crowd silence. He finally left after 22 years, which is great because WWE is only big enough for one shitty, overrated wrestler named Paul. Sometimes life is unfair, and sometimes someone gets the exact career that they deserve, which is why AEW hired Big Show to host their second most important YouTube show. His show got canceled on Netflix because they realized it's a lot cheaper to just add a laugh track to My 600-Pound Life. Look, guys, the Big Show is a decent name, but I prefer the original title. Wait, he's got kids? How does he fuck? That's it for me.
Oh man, I love that last one.
That's cool, man.
Oh.
All right, Scott.
Whoa, Scotty
Ooh, hey
Chaps, Sergeant Slaughterhouse.
All right, Big Show. Face, heel, heel, face. You've had more turns than a chubby chaser at a cornet gangbang.
Oh man. Oh Jesus. All right, keep going.
Big Show looks like a float at a Proud Boy parade. I heard he once tried to fuck the Statue of Liberty, but she said he was too green. Paul Wight was born 9 months after Lurch fucked Uncle Fester. Which is another reason I don't want to see him on Wednesday. Family joke. He's the first ever unimpressive giant. Like, he's a giant so unimpressive, people make fun of his weight. Like, legitimately, people, like, he walks by people and they're like, holy shit, did you see that 7'2" guy? Yeah, what a fat ass. like a pudgy monster. Like Paul Bunyan if he had bunions. Like King Kong if he destroyed the city because Arby's closed at 10. He looks like Prince Albert ate Fat Albert.
Oh man, that would have been perfect.
Oh, I know. Are you a giant or did Rick Moranis blow up Vern Troyer? He looks like a giant Vern Troyer. Like, are you a giant or do you have the world's tallest head? Once managed by Jimmy Hart while never managing his own heart. And finally, he is the new announcer for AEW Elevation. Elevation is also what his legs need to keep circulation.
Man, that was great.
All right, Robert.
Oh, fuck you, Zach. I gotta. Big Show was the global ambassador for the Special Olympics. It was inspiring for the kids to see one of their own find success. Big Show is a great signing for AEW. He's the perfect commentator if you love labored breathing, which is fitting because his matches tend to suck the air out of any room. God damn it. I literally had almost the exact same joke that Mike wrote about Danny Bonaducci and Hogan.
That's the problem when you go later in this thing.
Damn it. We're both equally as racist minded. In WCW, Big Show was billed as Andre the Giant's son, which is what made Andre decide to become pro-choice. It always made me laugh when they called Big Show the world's largest athlete, when the most athletic thing I ever saw him do was jump ship to the WWF.
That's great.
Okay, so this one's actually true. Big Show was arrested for exposing himself to a female motel employee. She said his dick was a lot like his matches, short and unimpressive. Big Show has 2 children, which means he's had sex. That must be like fucking a balloon filled with whipped cream. Or fucking Big Hero 6. But just like when booking any of his in-ring programs, it's not a good idea for him to finish on top. All right, that's all I got.
Pretty great. It's down to me and Dominic. Zach, who do you got?
Dominic, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Okay. I'm so happy Paul Wight signed with AEW because I remember Stephanie McMahon once telling a crying Big Show that if he wasn't working for WWE, he'd be working at a gas station. Instead, that fate went to Lars Sullivan, whose next feature film is titled Pumpin' Gas, Pumpin' Ass. There's already a sequel in the works, DP at the BP. I don't know what's harder to keep track of, if Big Show is a babyface or heel, or if Teddy Hart is in jail or not. WWE apparently owns the name to Big Show's finisher, the WMD, so Wight had to decide to fire back at the company by giving a move different life-threatening name, firing everybody during a global pandemic. He's also renaming his chokeslam to Where's Our Stimulus Checks? AEW put Shaq over in 10 minutes better than WWE did with Big Show in 3 decades.
It's just so true.
It is.
Somehow.
It's all true.
The Big Show looks so good for days that it takes me back to his memorable feud with the Big Boss Man, or as I like to call it, the days when WWE only exploited fake fathers' deaths.
That's great.
Big Show was such an appropriate name for Paul Wight when he first entered WWE because it was at the height of the Monday Night Wars, and Raw was beginning to win it. If Show debuted tonight on today's WWE, they'd be calling him the Big Over 50 demographic. It's my last one. One of Big Show's most memorable title runs was as ECW champion. And even though it was during the WWE reboot, Vince made his run as authentic as possible by making 6 of his paychecks bounce.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, no
Great
problem.
job. All right, I guess it's up to me now to end this thing. Here we go. The Big Show looks like what would happen if Paul Giamatti fucked Chunk from the Goonies. People were expecting the Big Show to be the next Andre the Giant. Not in terms of talent. They just hope he died at 47. Big Show has since announced that he's the goodwill ambassador to the Special Olympics. Well, that's one way to let us know you're joining the AEW announce team. Look, guys, Tony Khan wants a fat drunk slob on commentary, and science hasn't figured out a way to clone Chris Jericho. It's incredible that Big Show is starting at a third major wrestling company after Chris got him his job at AEW. Come into the wrestling world as Andre the Giant's son and leave as one of Dr. Luther's daddies. Big Show and Big Show is the only guy to get abs and stay fat. It's like being a horseman and not getting laid, or as Arn Anderson calls it, pulling an oldie. Big Show and Lex Luger briefly tagged together in the mid-90s, but their promos were too electric. After you watched them, you jumped into a bathtub holding a fucking toaster. Big Show said his lowest point was being sent to OVW and ordering hot dogs from the ring, a moment the food truck guy refers to as the day I stopped flying coach. Big Show once went to jail for punching a guy at a Marriott. Did you see the video, Scott? Did you see it?
No.
It's nuts. The last time we've seen a wrestler hit someone that hard at a hotel was when Miss Elizabeth took her time at the ice machine.
Oh my God.
The Big Show once guest starred in a canceled show called Shasta McNasty, which is what I thought Cardi B called her pussy. Big Show's failed at college basketball, failed at sitcoms, failed at movies. It's amazing that you can watch him put a rest hold on Snitsky and say, wait, this is the thing he's good at. I feel bad for Big Show. It must be confusing to be called a giant asshole and check the back of your shorts because you don't know if they're speaking figuratively. In 2007, Big Show briefly left WWE to work for Hulk Hogan, telling the press that Big Show was his slave name. Probably not the best idea to use a slave analogy for a promotion where getting color is something you do to get back at your dad. Did you guys see the New Year's? Did you guys see the New Year's rib WWE pulled on him? A sexy baby dancing in nothing but a diaper? Are you trying to make Big Show pop or Orlando Jordan come? Big Show has made 18 face turns, which is 17 more than Jim Ross has made in the last 2 decades.
Oh my God.
And finally, I never knew Big Show's finishing move was the knockout punch. I thought the knockout punch was something the fabulous Moolah gave to her girls before they met the promoter. That's it for me, guys.
What I love about that Miss Elizabeth joke is it could either be about Savage or Lex.
Hey man, she loves a guy Foley, whoever she's with. Oh man, Dominic, thank you so much, man. That was great.
Ooh, thanks for letting me sling some jokes here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, buddy.
You were great, man.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm doing your podcast on Friday night, but what else do you have to promote?
Yeah, so we do the 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, where we just recap AEW Dynamite. We'll go over this week's and predict stuff that what you guys are doing at Revolution coming up. And then we also, me and my brother also do WCW Rewritten, where he rebooks WCW from Starrcade 97 on, and it's quite the task. So he's
Wow.
yeah.
So basically, what Eric Bischoff does when he fucks his wife.
or DDP's wife.
And then also, I have an interview with Al Snow that just posted. Check that out. And then,
well, we're glad you didn't lead with that.
And then, yeah, just follow me on Twitter at Dominic D'Angelo. That's pretty much it.
Thanks, man. Great job, dude. I appreciate it, Dominic.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to
Yeah.
see you all again, too.
I appreciate it. Dominic D'Angelo
Kicking
from
ass.
WrestleZone joining us.
brother.
I'll be
brother.
on the show on Friday night. I'll see you later,
See you
Dominic.
guys.
Guys, I guess this is as good a time to tell you as any who we're roasting next week. Mike, would you like to do the honors?
Well, we are roasting Virgil.
That's the appropriate level of excitement.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, you said it like you told somebody they have rodents.
well, I said it wondering if he could afford an iPhone and listen to it. So this is going to be a fun one. We cannot be nearly as mean to him as life has. But he lost his lover Pat Patterson, and we're going to cheer him up.
Hey, and guess who's going to be roasting with us? The hilarious
Virgil.
No, he can't get enough quarters for the payphone to join us for this show.
The hilarious Chris Cubis is going to be joining us next week to roast Virgil. So that should be fun. And even bigger news, ladies and gentlemen, the roast of WrestleMania. I mean, the road to WrestleMania may have just started, but the road to Roastamania begins right now, because WrestleMania weekend, we are going to be roasting the immortal Hulk Hogan. Well, I guess before he dies or something, but it's gonna be
It's in
gonna
3
be
weeks, so
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. There's nobody is more WWE than Hulk Hogan. It will be. We're gonna drop a big leg on that bald racist motherfucker. So check it out. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
you will find out whether or not poor people that host a podcast can lose a lawsuit.
Could you imagine if Peter Thiel sues us?
That's right. We have that Conrad money now. We're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Or we can all just hide behind Conrad.
Come
We'll
on,
never
guys.
find-
Yeah, I think that's more of a better. Hey, we're on the free tier system of a wrestling podcast network. All right, let's go. Let's get back into the 10 count, folks.
By the way, free tiers is also how Elizabeth paid rent.
Number 4. It's time to check in with Robert Karpeles. With Creative is Nothing For You. Robert, we're going to be playing a little bit of a game this week in honor of the Big Show.
And I'm sure. I don't know what the fuck that means, but sure.
Well, but Big Show blocked you.
Oh, that's right. Big Show did.
That's
block
why
me.
I thought of
There's
this game.
Yes.
There
see,
we go.
somehow, so Dan's not only stealing my stories before, he now expects I'm telepathic. I can see where he was going.
Yeah, well, you
with
can
this
see your
transition.
stories. Yeah.
Sorry.
You
let me
try to
this again.
host a fucking show.
Let me try this again. What I picked this week and wasn't thrust upon me was this idea that Big Show.
Speaking of Pat
blocked
Patterson.
Me, sorry. Big Show blocked me on Twitter. Big Show used to interact with my account. He enjoyed it. He actually tweeted about it maybe a couple months ago and then made a joke, and he decided to block me. So Dan had thought it would be a good idea to list a couple of top tier superstars, 3, and one of these 3 has blocked me on Twitter. And I will say beforehand, for my WWE Creative-ish Twitter account, it always pisses me off when a wrestler blocks me on here because it's so clearly a joke that we're doing, where I'm not attacking somebody personally or really coming after them. It's meant in good humor.
It's also the funniest Twitter account in wrestling, and I'm not just saying that because Rob co-hosts the show. I knew Robert's Twitter feed way before I knew Robert. It's great if you haven't checked it out.
I appreciate it. In spite of my Big Show roast earlier today, I
There's some
swear
good
the
stuff in
Twitter
there.
account-
There's some
No,
good
it's
stuff
it
in
was.
there.
It's like
Dude,
Big Show. It was
dude,
it was mediocre for most of it, and then there were 1 or 2 highlights.
Dude, it would have been great on Twitter. Don't be hard
Yes.
on yourself.
Yeah, Robert, you just have to start writing jokes that are like 150 characters or less.
Yes, I got to put a hashtag after. So I'm going to present three different guys. All three of them have interacted with the account before. They've all replied, they've followed, they've promoted it, and then one of these three people subsequently blocked me. And I guess the idea behind this fantastic game show is I'm going to present the three, and you guys are going to pick who you think it was that subsequently blocked me on Twitter.
Who blocked Robert?
Most girls in high school. Anyway, the three are John Cena, the leader of the C Nation, who very early on in the Twitter account was one of the first celebrities, Twitter people, to respond to something I tweeted about Hyundai. And he decided to tweet about how fantastic of a car it was and tag Hyundai. So John Cena. Number two, Dave Bautista, star of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and whatever VOD shit he's doing now. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who once referred to my account as fucked up, funny as hell, but fucked up. So it's John Cena, Dave Bautista, or The Rock. Which one of these three guys subsequently blocked me on Twitter?
John Cena.
I'm going to go with Batista because I think Batista, out of all those three guys, gets the most butthurt. Maybe not the most butthurt because that's probably Cena, but the guy who wears his emotions on his sleeves the most.
I'm gonna go with Batista. Like, I'm imagining him in Atlanta getting the green face paint applied. He's tired. He's reading your Twitter feed on a bad day, and he's like, "Fuck this guy." I think he hurt his feelings on the set of Stuber or something, and he's like, "Screw."
Hopefully, didn't read the reviews.
I'll say Batista as well. I think Batista.
So yes, the correct answer was Dave Bautista. Batista followed my account from just about day one. Had DM'd me a couple times at how much he enjoyed what I was doing, and then I made one joke about him. And I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't particularly mean or offensive. And all of a sudden, he just wrote, "That's not cool," and blocked me on Twitter. So thank you, Dave Bautista, star of whatever that
he did.
Yes, whatever that Zack Snyder zombie movie you're going to have on Netflix that we're going to move past.
Hey man, you leave the fifth most important person in the Dune remake alone. now you guys work together, right? So does he?
I did.
But he doesn't know, like, when these guys interact with your Twitter feed, how many of them know that it's you, and how many of them just see it as this Twitter feed?
Most of them just know it as a Twitter feed. Orton had asked after a while, I was like, "Hey, some people told me you actually used to work here. Did we ever work together?" And then it had to be that kind of like awkward Me Too moment where I'm like, "Oh, we worked together. You were a prick, but now you seem like a really good guy." But that's one of the reasons why I liked the account initially. Is it wasn't, "Hey, someone that used to work at the company and this is why you should follow it." It was just, "Hey, here's an idiot making jokes on Twitter." And having done the WrestleRoasts Twitter account last week during NXT, where I was just screaming into an empty canyon, it made me realize how much I enjoy using my Twitter account during Raw.
Well, I will be tweeting from Raw. I was yelling into that void this Monday night. So
a few years ago, Randy Orton sent Robert a compliment, and he sent back an MLW contract, and they haven't talked since.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the one ththing that would get Randy to block Robert if Robert tried to get him to go to MLW.
I don't hate Randy enough to do that to him. I'm joking, but kind of not.
Well, we gotta play this game again. This is a blast. I want to see like which wrestlers get the most butthurt. So I'm excited. Let's get to number 5. It's
Brooklyn Brawler. Brooklyn Brawler.
Brooklyn Brawler. Number 5. It's Obituary Alley with Mike Lawrence. Mike.
Well, I wasn't sure that this could be like a recurring segment where we just talk about someone who died in wrestling this week, but so far it is. We lost a real, genuine legend in the wrestling business. I believe yesterday or the day before. Jim Crockett Jr. of Jim Crockett Promotions. This guy was, again, the tributes that he's getting, you realize how important he was. Tony Schiavone was like, He's the guy who took me out of baseball and put me in wrestling. Ric Flair said I went to Charlotte with, a couple bucks in my pocket and met Jim Crockett. So like, this guy, of all the people that went up against, Vince, or that Vince went up against, is more appropriate in the 80s. I think that the NWA, that Jim Crockett era, was the consistent best, probably definitely a better in-ring product. And, he was able to build the company enough that Ted Turner ended up buying it, and they were a great company for years. So, hats off to Jim Crockett Jr. Do you guys have any memories, thoughts of his era of wrestling?
When I met him, he was nice. I thought somebody else was going to chime in.
I thought there was going to be more to that story.
I wasn't around for any of that. You know what I mean? But hearing how important he was, it makes you go, holy shit, I should have known more. You think that the person behind all of these amazing moments that I've seen in highlight reels, or just being a wrestling fan for so long and knowing, the history enough, you think they would push his name more like they do with Vince. But yeah, he ended up like, he got into real estate and stuff. And
well, yeah, I think Jim Crockett, I think part of his legacy is going to be a number of cautionary tales where he built a genuinely impressive roster, but he was the poster child, or him and his promotion, for why wrestling companies can't work together. When he was president of the NWA, he tried to pull in Canada, and then Tunney's nephew, Jack Tunney, sold him out and joined up with Vince. He tried to pull in the AWA and work with Vern, but wrestlers are paranoid, crazy people. Guys like Ric Flair love him because he paid them a fortune, and they had the private plane, and they were trying to live that lifestyle. But unfortunately, it led to ultimately bankrupting the company, which is why Ted Turner stepped in. Jim made some poor decisions, like buying the UWF, where you got some great talent. That's where you got Sting. You wouldn't have had Sting if it wasn't for that. Or he bought Championship Wrestling from Florida, and he pulled in some of this talent. But he made some big swings in his business decisions that ultimately sunk the company, when they really should have been more focused on building their product and making smart decisions. And someone like Tony Khan today can learn a lot about some of the missteps that Jim Crockett did. Obviously, Tony Khan's working with a much larger piggy bank, but Crockett had the highs and he also had the lows that AEW theoretically could have going forward. And if nothing else, this is probably going to bring a lot of those stories to light when Tony's reading the Observer piece on it.
And I think, if he gets credit for one thing, one of the only promoters not to force his shitty kid into wrestling. So I think we got to give him that because they all did it and Crockett didn't. So thank you, Crockett.
And I mean, still the way that Tony would interview the Horsemen, I mean, I still watch the Dusty and the Flair promos from that time. I mean, I think that's going to be, his lasting legacy, is just creating an environment where those guys could just be themselves.
Yeah, because I think AWA was like a fertile ground for a lot of people to start. But then I really think that Jim Crockett Promotions was a place for them to flourish.
Yes, I would completely agree with that. Let's get to number 6. It's time for Scott's New Japan Corner. Scotty.
Did you boys watch Mox versus
I did.
Kenta?
Yeah, we talked about it on the Patreon a little bit.
Oh, you did? Okay. Did you guys like it? It's
I loved
kind of
it.
a bummer when it's just silence.
Yeah, that was my review.
It was a good match.
I loved it.
So that happened, and then just a few hours after that aired, Castle Attack aired. Well, 2 nights of Castle Attack, and I mean the only thing noteworthy is Ibushi beat Naito, and today, actually this morning at the 49th anniversary show, Ibushi beat El Desperado, and now the IC title and the IWGP Heavyweight title are going to be one title. It's going to be the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. It's getting a whole new design and everything. Like, they're saying he's the first champion of it, which is that kind of irritates me. Dan, what do you think of that? That's the only thing that bothers me. I don't even mind the new design, even though it's the current belt they have is the best belt in wrestling.
It does bother me. Because even WWE, even though like their title history is so bad as far as like, you know, like titles disappearing and then not being important and then being important again, they consider, like, if you either won the World Heavyweight title or you won the WWE Championship or if you won the Universal Championship, they still consider you having reached the top of the mountain, you know, like, so when they talk about it, it's like, I hope that they don't abandon their history. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit nervous because, you know, Gato, like last year, he totally, you know, like sweated, you know, Vince McMahon's booking and like erasing a title history. That's kind of like a little bit of a Vince move.
Yeah,
so,
I will say this, that guy, Chris Charlton, the, what is he, British or something? He's got an accent. He's one of the commentators for New Japan, though. And this morning, while Ibushi was walking out during his entrance, he did a good job of explaining the new title and how it puts more of a focus on the fact that New Japan is where the world is focused on now, as opposed to where championships would come from other countries. I don't know. It made sense. And I went, okay, that sounds fun.
Their announce team is amazing.
They're great. They make me feel smart, you know? Yeah.
They have like the best announced team for the last 5 years and nobody has even come close. I'm sorry. I know I sound like a New Japan mark there.
They are after them.
It's really good. It's really good.
What else happened? Oh, so also today the New Japan Cup started, and dude, Naito fought the Great Okan, and the Great Okan beat Naito.
Ugh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was big. Jeff Cobb also advanced.
Who do you like less? What's it called? Great Okan, or is it Tai Chi? Who's the guy again?
I don't like Tai Chi at all. I like Great Okan. I think he's fun enough. Who gives a shit, you know?
Who? Here's a better question. Who was more bored, Scott during our Jim Crockett segment, or me and Robert now?
I've been entertaining myself, but that's just because I've been thinking of other things. But it's funny because when you started talking about the convoluted title history, like my nerd brain immediately went to like WWE is like Marvel continuity, where New Japan is DC continuity, where nothing makes sense, and when you try to explain it, you sound like a crazy person. I've been looking forward to this segment all week for your Scott's New Japan Corner because I want to do the "I told you so" from a week ago. Marty Skrull edited it out of the of the stuff because I said a week ago it's not going to fly. They don't want to jeopardize stuff with AEW, and I feel like they got a lot of pressure, and now Marty no longer exists, like whatever the IW something title is.
Yeah, because also, I mean, you know, speaking on what Skrull did, so you heard about the Joey Ryan apparently was running some charity show for like women. What a fucking nut job, right? I mean, this guy eats brains. You got to check his fucking refrigerator. That's a strange dude.
What a crazy. Like I kept laughing. I'm like, did he do this? Like, was it like, oh no, it's Johnny Ryan's School of Wrestling, and he's got like a fake mustache over his real mustache.
Yeah, he's absolutely bonkers. But Tony Khan tweeted like none of my wrestlers will be there if Joey Ryan is involved. So clearly Khan never wants to work with Joey Ryan. And Joey Ryan was at All In. Remember, he came out with the dick, with all the dicks, the floating dicks.
Oh yeah, the dick druids.
Yeah, dude. AEW told us they were going to be fucking cheese, man, from the start.
The fact that you've managed to turn even this segment into a pro AEW speech at the end is impressive.
I love that.
It is unbelievable. By taking down Joey Ryan.
Oh, hey, but also New Japan, which surprised me, but Juice Robinson actually wrestled this morning, and he has an afro now and like disco pants. Totally different than last week on Impact.
He's like a flashback. He's like a flashback character in Starsky and Hutch or something. You know?
Yeah, man, he's different.
Isn't it going to be? It's Gallows and Anderson versus FinJuice coming up, right? at
I
Impact?
guess so. Yeah, I guess. But he's back in Japan, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Also, dude, they announced so 2 shows in May. One is at Yokohama Stadium, which is like a baseball field. And then they're doing a Tokyo Dome show May 29th, which is they don't do that, So that's weird and interesting. And I wonder if maybe they plan on opening up and they want a huge crowd or something. And I don't know.
I was going to
But
say,
yeah, that's
Juice
it.
Robinson sounds like an evil pimp that Starsky and Hutch fought.
All right, number 7. It's time for this week's Show in Hell. This week we watched the Terry Funk Onita match from FMW. I had never seen it before, and I made these guys watch it. Let's start with Mike. What did you think?
Well, yeah, often this segment is like goofy or, the weird stuff. I get why, I think this was really good to watch for the pay-per-view coming up. This was amazing. This was unbelievable, badass. Like, there's that part of me that I don't know if I should say too much because I want people to see this and seek it out. It's on YouTube. It is like heavy metal. Terry Funk and Onita were just like awesome because this isn't just a death match. There was real psychology here, and the ending is one of the top 5 endings in wrestling I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
What did you think, Scott?
Compliments for Mike. Yeah, I loved it. It's one of those things that puts you in a feeling, in a place. It's like watching a different movie than other movies, You watch it and you go, man, I miss Mel Gibson for some reason, You just go like, I miss like those like train wreck movies.
Why didn't you look at me when you said you miss Mel Gibson?
Oh, I didn't look at you.
Every time I look at you, Robert, I miss Mel Gibson.
By the way, Scott didn't say I miss Mel Gibson movies. He just misses Mel Gibson.
It's just there's just something really fun and badass about it, and yeah, I loved it. I thought it was super cool and bloody, and it made me nervous for Sunday because what are they gonna do? And they're gonna wear different outfits, right? You got to wear a shirt during a thing like this.
The one thing I forgot to mention, and this is right at the beginning of the match, the fucking referee is in like a futuristic beekeeper costume. It looks like what Bjork wears to go to sleep. It's like
like Summer Theater Tin Man.
Yeah, it's so awesome, but it immediately adds to like the weirdness and the rareness of like that. I've never seen that before. Like a match is so dangerous that even the referee is wearing extra protection.
So here's what I didn't like about that. It is so good that if they don't do it on Sunday, I might not like the match.
Yeah,
that's
but
how
also,
cool that referee thing was.
That's
perfect.
That's what Kenny and Johnny like.
They better.
They love that. Like this match is a wrestling nerd match. Like it's so nerdy.
It really is. It's pretty awesome, man.
Dude, we might get a shot-for-shot remake of Funk Onita.
No, we will not.
We might.
No chance. You think it's like Vince Vaughn doing Psycho?
I loved it. The only thing is like there was one knee breaker that Terry Funk did in the beginning where he just kind of gave up on it. It was like, but besides that, I love Anita's DDT, and at the end when like Onita looks like he's about to cry when Funk leaves and the guitar solo is playing, like I was kind of like genuinely touched. But Robert, what did you think of this? Are we just becoming young boys right now? What's going on?
So here's the deal. I got the email with what we're going over this week, and I'm like, all right, I have to watch all of AEW and all of NXT, and I kind of forgot to watch this. I have seen it. I saw it years ago. I don't love barbed wire matches. Like the Sabu one. It's just it's one of those things that it's tough to watch, and I will go back and watch this before the AEW pay-per-view, and I'll give my thoughts on it during the Patreon on Sunday. Not that it was. See, look at that, a little plug. But I'm kind of curious because you guys really built this up, and I'm trying to think back if it really had that much of an impression on me.
Well, for me, it's not a great wrestling match, but it's a great spectacle. Like it's a fun spectacle. That's my belief.
And I think it needs to be said it's only as good as it is because of the two guys involved. Like there's there are moments of psychology. It's not just a blood fest. Like one of the things that's really cool that I really loved about it at the beginning was like Terry just tries to keep getting these fast pins, and like that makes sense because he doesn't want to get hurt.
Right.
You know, like I think like old era death matches, you know, a lot of the stuff where it was more smart about like, well, we have to do this, but I'd still prefer not to, makes so much more sense than guys purposely cutting themselves as much as they can, where the whole thing is how much can I get hurt. It's when there's a story behind it and it's, well, I'm willing to get hurt like this match was. I think it works. And I do think that that'll be more the feeling on Sunday.
How about that last shot when Onita ran in and protected Terry Funk before the bomb went off?
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to spoil, but fuck it. That was the
Sorry.
greatest thing. That was the dude. It was, I lost it. Like I started crying. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything that epic in wrestling, like that cinematic, where it still was in front of a crowd, but the ring is about to explode, and Onita.
So this sounds like, is this in your new top 5 matches?
It might be. It's pretty great because it's like,
Yes.
look, like the commentaries in Japanese, like the only storytelling that you get at all is from watching it, but you get everything that you need to know.
You know, they say they're doing the storyline, the Onita Terry Funk storyline. It has a lot of parallels with the QT Marshall Lee Johnson angle. That watching those guys wrestle is as fun as hitting your head against exploding barbed wire. Since we mentioned Patreon, let me let you guys know what's coming up on Patreon. Monday morning, we're gonna have our Revolution review, which should be a blast. This weekend, man, if you're a fan of like MMA and WWE, this weekend is fucking tremendous. You got SmackDown on Friday and New Japan Strong on Friday. You got Saturday, you've got like one of the biggest UFC cards in history. Sunday, you've got Revolution, and then if you want, you can watch Ring of Honor afterwards. A lot of stuff to do. I don't know why I'm promoting everybody else and not us, but we're going to be doing Revolution for this week's Patreon, and next week's Patreon, it's going to be a bonus roast, the roast of Teddy Hart. Check it out. We may, me and Robert may stay on to review SmackDown after the roast of Teddy Hart, or whoever can do it, but we will definitely be doing the roast of Teddy Hart. Not this weekend, but the week after. So it'll be roast of Virgil and then Patreon roast of Teddy Hart. Check it out. It's gonna be a blast.
What's great is you could just use your leftover Virgil jokes for Teddy Hart.
And another thing that I want to mention: next week's Show in Hell, just in case you guys want to watch it before we review it, is going to be Caitlyn versus Maxine, and this is all Mike Lawrence's recommendation. So if you hate this match, just DM Mike. And to our listeners and to my fellow co-host, the commentary is 80% of the joy.
Yes.
Who does commentary?
I believe that it's Cole.
It's
And Matthews. Is it Matthews and Cole?
Do they just bury it the whole time?
Oh my God!
Don't spoil it. As soon as you
Okay,
this is the first time I'm hearing we're doing this. As soon as you said it, I knew exactly what we've got in store. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that. This is the Onita versus Funk of NXT 2013 women's matches for Robert.
I might cry by the end of this.
It's the most human you'll ever see Michael Cole.
All right, let's get to number 8. AEW Dynamite versus NXT versus watching Jim Cornette watch AEW Dynamite. Let's go through it. We're just going to go through the shows last night. Obviously, last night was a night that AEW had to win, and I think it's debatable, but we'll go into it. Let's switch it up. Let's do NXT first. We started out with Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher against our tag team champions Imperium. They kind of ran an odd angle.
They started with
I'm sorry.
Danny Burch and Orny.
Danny Burch. Oney Lorcan. I got ahead of myself. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan won with help from interference from Imperium, setting up a story of, Timothy Thatcher being kicked out of Imperium or leaving Imperium, and now Imperium is going to get its revenge. I thought the match, I thought it was good. I liked the guys more than I liked the match. What did you guys think of this, Robert?
Thought it was a solid match. It was telling a pretty good story. I think Burch and Lorcan, they're developing a personality, which is definitely helpful as the tag champions. I'm a big fan of Thatcher and Ciampa as a team. I think they're gelling really well. It was a really solid match. The finish was kind of goofy with Imperium leading to the distraction, but they're clearly telling a story going forward. So I like that there was some momentum, and I'm all about just watching Thatcher and Ciampa as a team.
Yeah, but they're going to be breaking up now. Isn't that the idea?
It would seem that way, but
Which, that sucks. I mean, because then what?
Scott, what do you think about because AEW? We give AEW shit for this all the time, and NXT kind of pulled it last night with the WWE expecting us to know that Timothy Thatcher was in Imperium. Again, it's like you guys got to let us at least a week beforehand, at least a week or two beforehand, let us know that he was in Imperium. I don't know. Let's move on. We have a package with. I'm kind of doing this all over the place as far as not like the order of the actual show, just because I pulled up Cage Side Seats. Cheap plug for them, and that's the way they do it. Johnny Gargano had a segment with The Way. It was a fun stable, but I don't know, man. I just think fucking Dexter Lumis is death. He should be.
This shit stunk, man.
Dude, it's just like come on, man. He's like he should be in an Elias spot, not the spot that he's in now.
I think that Johnny Gargano does this thing in comedy that he thinks that saying the punchline twice is more important than saying a good punchline once. And he does this a lot. Like his comedy instincts are just bad. I think Austin Theory is actually funnier.
Really? I would think Johnny was funny. I think Candice LeRae is the best out of all of them as far as acting, but I don't know. I think he's pretty funny for a wrestler.
I mean, it is very rare, and I think I mentioned this recently. Like, you never see someone in a wrestling skit that isn't a wrestler. And maybe this woman was one of Moolah's in her harem or something. But the woman who played the therapist, like, is she a writer? Is she a costume designer? Is she, a Levesque? Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know. We got a promo from Eli Drake. I think he's really good on the mic. I didn't love this promo. I thought it was a little generic. What did you think about this promo, Mike?
I thought this was terrible. I thought this was everything I didn't like about NWA Power, where they're just doing an impression of a Crockett era promo. They're just like, it has all the cadence and stuff, but not signifying anything, nothing like personal or unique. He's just doing an impression of an 80s wrestler. And
Robert, you think Mike's being too hard on him?
No, I think he's being too generous.
Wow.
This was death, and I felt terrible for this guy because he kept repeating himself. He clearly lost where he was going partway through. When he was Eli Drake, he had some charisma by default by being an Impact. Like, you're the best of what there is on Impact. He needs a truly scripted promo when he's out there, and he's like, it was incredibly generic. It was, this isn't my dream. This is business, and I'm here to make money. And people say I'm the best there is in NXT, and I believe it made no sense. And he can talk. You just need to give him what to say. This is why people need scripted promos.
No, what are you talking about? Could it be that they gave him a scripted promo? I mean, this is the WWE.
No, this is
Scott brings up a good point.
No, this is NXT.
Promos.
They gave him bullet points because they feel like they can trust him. His previous little pre-tapes when he was standing outside of his shitty apartment or parked in his car.
Those have been really good.
Those were good, and this one felt like you put him out there. You gave him too much faith, and he sank. And I felt bad for him.
Look, he's got to get used to this LA Knight skin, okay? Give him a couple weeks.
Cameron Grimes went up against Bronson Reed. Are you a Bronson Reed guy, Mike? I would think that he would be right up your alley.
I like Sablota Joe.
He does. He looks like Samoa Joe washed up on a beach.
Yokozuna. Recently, like if you made a person out of farts, that's what he looks like. He looks like he's made out of farts, like hardened, solidified farts. I mean, he's good. I will say that the Cameron Grimes, the skit leading up to this match and all that, like Cameron Grimes outside the ring, like he is very good wrestler in the ring, but he's not unique in the way that he is outside the ring, where he really sticks out. And then once he has a match, he's just having an NXT match.
Well, because he doesn't wrestle like Cameron Grimes, he just wrestles like a good wrestler.
Yes.
What do you think?
See that? I mean, I really like him in the ring, but I can also see that.
Just a little more cowardly, a little more like playing into the comedy a little bit more. Like there were just moments where it became more back and forth. I think that if you're trying to push this gimmick, him winning with a finisher against a guy that big isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, I hear
Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. What did you think of this, Scott?
I didn't see this match.
I'm upset I used my Sablota Joe joke already.
Anybody have anything to say about this match? I mean, it was kind of like
This was awesome.
You know,
The finish on this was awesome.
You like that finish? You didn't think it was too dusty?
It's very dusty, but you're actually telling a story. You know, one of the criticisms of NXT is here's a bunch of wrestling and we're not telling any kind of story with an angle. So this idea that Adam Pearce, Mike Lawrence's favorite authority figure, comes out there and they bring a Raw referee to screw over Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez when the wrong person was tapping because she wasn't legal, and they kept hyping like that's a Raw referee, that's not an NXT person. Maybe they're actually going to tell some kind of an interesting story of remembering that NXT is a brand as opposed to just floating out on an island on its own. So I'm intrigued that you're going somewhere with this. And you know, the fact that they had the Adam Pearce, William Regal thing backstage after where they were screaming at each other, you didn't know why. When they did that NXT invasion because of the Saudi family allegedly kidnapping the entire Raw roster and SmackDown roster, when they had the NXT guys show up, that was really interesting. And I feel like if you're going to tell a version of that story here, I'm intrigued. And they're trying to hook people into the show rather than just we have good wrestling. You don't think that this is just setting up the NXT tag team titles for the women? I that's the impression I got, is that they're gonna have a new title next week. They could, but I think this is more to the main roster trying to protect the titles and not letting them fall into the hands of the NXT women. Yeah, well, no, because Regal said because of what happened in the women's tag, I'm going to make an announcement next week that will change the landscape of NXT. So I figured that was it. Let's just get to the main event, Adam.
Can we just do something to Robert's point that
I
remember a couple weeks ago, you're like, oh, you know, they just picked Adam Pearce to be an authority figure that they could get in and out, and he doesn't need to take a lot of time. He's on every show now. He's on all 3 fucking shows. He has more screen time than anybody else and still does nothing.
Yeah, and it all feels like practice, right? Every time he goes on, it's like he's practicing to do what he's supposed to be doing.
It feels like the stage manager stepping in for the actor because the actor's late.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Do you think, Robert, do you think not enough Adam Pearce? Too much Adam Pearce?
I think that Vince likes how awkward he is on TV, and there's a fucked up version of Vince where he will intentionally keep putting Adam Pearce on there just for that. It's what he used to do with Tony Chimmel for years. Anytime Chimmel would have to be given a lot of verbiage, it would be uncomfortable for Chimmel to do it. So Vince would make sure that Tony has to read every word of a stipulation for a match and make it as long as possible because it makes him laugh. So I feel like part of this is, all right, Pearce, we're going to put you on TV a lot, and you're going to have to carry all of these segments.
What a crazy person.
That's why Howard Finkel fucked himself by enjoying everything. Like, yes, you can take my tuxedo off. God damn it, that wasn't the point of the joke.
All right, our main event, Finn Balor against Roddy Strong. Thank God it wasn't another Roddy Strong promo. Again, Roddy did an amazing job in the match. I'm going to pitch it again. Hey. Big Rod machine, put Kane Mask on Roderick, and have him speak with a voice box. That's how you get the guy over.
It would still whine.
It would still whine. But the match itself was very good, and
of course,
I'm excited about Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. My question is there any chance in hell that they put the title on Adam Cole next week, Scott? Like this week before WrestleMania. If it was after WrestleMania, I would say absolutely, but
I don't know. I don't know where they're going with any of this. Like, so the Undisputed Era breaking up. Here's the thing about it. It means the Undisputed Era is never debuting on the main roster. They're done. That's weird. And so now I view this entire thing as like
Good.
just so small.
But Scott, here's the problem. If they would have been on the main roster, they'd be losing to Retribution in 3 weeks' time. So the fact that Undisputed Era had a complete arc in NXT and it was untainted for the most part, let it sunset. You told the rise of them and now the fall of them. And then wherever they wind up going forward, when Roderick Strong is on SmackDown as like the wrestling chef, like you're like, oh, I remember all the good stuff we had in NXT versus we're now bringing this up to the main roster and they're going to wind up fucking it up.
But it's holding back a faction. I mean, you can't say they're one of the greatest factions.
Because they're not.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But give them the opportunity. They could be. They could be.
Adam Cole looks like James Ellsworth with a chin, so there's no way you would even want him on the main roster. Like,
all right. Well, let's get to AEW Dynamite. We should start by saying this didn't crack 1 million viewers, and they had Shaq, which like before we get into the match itself. Which the match, Shaq did a really good job. He did as good of a job as you could ask a celebrity to do in a match like that. I think, him being one of the best 10 basketball players of all time, I think we slept on the fact that, if he's one of the best 10 basketball players of all time, he may be able to remember physicality, like an hour. That may be something he's very good at, So I thought it was a good match. I thought Jade Cargill was the star of the match. She looked amazing, and she could really be somebody for him. The whole, like the move they had with Shaq going through the table. The one thing that really pissed me off was Cody not selling the power bomb. Like just like within 10 seconds later, he punches Shaq in the face. I'm like, that looked like it hurt. Not only did it look like it hurt, but he was like, using the power of Brody Lee. So why are you up that fast? I don't know. What did you think of this, Scott?
Yeah, I think in that moment it was supposed to be a Hulk up moment, but he didn't sell that aspect of it enough. So it just came off like he no-sold it. Because right after that, he also slammed Shaq. I loved this. I thought this was awesome. Like seriously, I thought we were going to laugh at this, and it just worked. It just did. I like that it did revolve more around the women, and that Jade got the pin. I thought it was awesome. That Shaq bump was better than any celebrity bump recently, right?
I mean, it depends if you consider the Pat McAfee.
Okay, the Pat McAfee match isn't as good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as good as that.
Yeah.
What did you think of this? What did you think of this, Robert?
I think given what it was, this is exceeded expectations, but then again, I had extremely low expectations for this. I think there was an inordinate amount of flop sweat going on with Cody during this match because he knew he was carrying everyone else in here. Shaq did fine. He did what a celebrity who grows up and loves wrestling does. He did the footwork moves. He did the test of strength. He did I have a checklist of things I want to do growing up as a fan, and he got to do them, and he wasn't embarrassing. Cody, my whole issue with this going forward was you never understood if Cody was going to be a babyface or heel in this story. And then the way he wrestled this match, he kind of was like a chicken shit heel for most of it, even though he was the guy trying to avenge what happened to his wife. Jade Cargill could be very good if they keep her off TV for a while. Every time she does a move, she poses like she's in Mortal Kombat, which is very confusing. She's like, I have my special taunt I need to do right now.
Yeah, but what a physique.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone going over the top on her was that was he forgot the microphone was on half the time. But the figure 4 spot with her and Red Velvet was enough to take them off TV. JR was really flat during this match. He seemed like he was going through this was WWE going through the motions. Even when Shaq went through the table, it felt like he was Jim Ross playing a Jim Ross impersonator, which was a little weird. On the plus side, shocked this didn't get over 1 million viewers because not only did you open with Shaq, but who was outside the ring? QT. And that alone, between QT and then the Gun Club hitting Shaq with a chair, I mean, you were putting your biggest stars at the top.
It was so funny because me and Mike were texting throughout this, and every time, like literally every time Mike would say like, "Oh, this is pretty good," like the Gun Club would show up, or Sean Spears would be revealed as the mystery attack. He jinxed every time he texts. He jinxed that fucking show. Mike, what did you think of this match?
I mean, yeah, like this was fun. I mean, I would have trusted it to go last. I mean, I know heaven forbid women in the main event on AEW show, but hey, try it. You know, I think that the Gun and QT stuff infuriated me because it's like you had 4 months, they were never a part of the story at all. Now they're just in it because the Nightmare Family, like if you want new people to watch your show and be accessible, then be fucking accessible. And I mean, the spot of the night, it was really funny, was Red Velvet needing QT's help to set up the second table. Really made I mean, I think that, yeah, if Jade was kind of like the star here.
Do you think when QT does something well, like Cody, like James Cromwell and Babe says, "That'll do, pig, that'll do"?
Yeah. And there was even a moment like where he's directing her on which way to flip the table. Like it's really sad. I mean, because Red Velvet, like, she was the Orndorff in your WrestleMania 1. She did exist just to get the pin, but I don't think that she was done any favors last night. And, you know, they talked about her win streak. We never really saw her on Dynamite win a match. She wasn't in the women's tournament, so she was a complete afterthought. I thought Jade, I agree with Robert a little bit, of keep her off for a while, but I think at least once a month, like, there's something special there. Have her in some squashes, because they don't have a lot of women with charisma and media savvy and the following that she has. And I thought, like, you know, she came off like your classic 80s pro wrestler, and Shaq over delivered. I mean, I think him and Cody were probably in the ring, like 3 or 4 minutes in a 12-minute match, but he didn't fuck up at all, and it was great. The post-match angle was really goofy and fucking stupid, but the match itself, like, over-delivered.
The post-match hour and 40 minutes of this show was pretty fucked up and stupid. When you consider
let's get Robert.
Because Mike and I were texting.
What do you think? Do you think they made Do you think they made good use of this card?
Absolutely not.
Or no?
This is one of those situations where Vince could have watched this show and been like, all right, we'll be fine for a while. Like, AEW has not figured it out. They have all of this talent. They have all of these opportunities, and it's ready, fire, aim. And I think that's what's really problematic here. You were theoretically getting a brand new audience from this. This is one of those where friends of mine who don't watch wrestling anymore were like, I had 2 different people text me like, hey, I saw Shaq was on wrestling last night. Did you see it? And I was like, yeah, but if you would have watched this show and you wanted to be hooked for the rest of this broadcast, and you were getting lapsed fans or new fans, you have Moxley, you have Kenny Omega, you have Sting, you have all these guys. You come back to Shaq's missing in an ambulance and then a Pac and Phoenix squash match. And the rest of this show felt really disjointed, and it wasn't open and inclusive.
Clearly they wanted to do like some sort of high flying stuff after the Shaq thing, but I don't know why they made it a squash.
You made
match.
a squash match with these guys who I've never, like John Skyler in D3. I don't know who the hell these guys are. This could have been Butcher and the Blade against Pac and Phoenix. Have Eddie Kingston talk the audience into staying and give them a decent little match and be like, hey, here's cool shit we do otherwise.
Was Eddie even on the show last night?
Nope.
You didn't have him on. There was no Moxley. There was no Kenny on what's supposed to be your go-home show, where you have theoretically a brand new audience. If they would have really put forth their best effort on this show, you could have built new fans for people who were tire kickers who just wanted to see Shaq wrestle. And I disagree, Mike. I think you had to open with Shaq because there were people who were just tuning in for this. And I think they were really hoping to get over 1 million for the open and be like, look at this huge number we just did, and coast on it for the rest of the broadcast. Even if it trailed off to, this felt like a Saturday night's main event.
Next up, we have another match that everybody was kind of excited about, and that is the Jurassic Express. I think I may be skipping.
Oh, you
something
skipped the
here,
Inner Circle 20 minutes of talking.
right. Let's talk about that. I apologize. Inner Circle. I mean, I guess one of my mark out moments of the week, which I'll talk later, was Conrad being called turkey tits. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. This segment was, in my mind, kind of a microcosm of everything that works and doesn't work about AEW. You have Jericho and MJF, who are, without a doubt, the two funniest guys in wrestling as far as promos, and definitely in the top 10 promos of wrestling. And then, you also have the first question not being mic'd, and that for me is dynamite. It makes me really nervous about Sunday that they're doing an exploding barbed wire match and they couldn't mic the first question. That could be some sort of a safety hazard. What did you think of this, Robert?
This was, to your point, Dan, this was everything good and bad about AEW all at once. The weird audio, the fact that you're relying on niche within a niche for the audience, where it's like, hey, it's Conrad, the guy from podcast. Hey, it's Eric Bischoff, the guy from podcast. Hey, we're going to make a joke about Nick Jackson's thinning hair. But then after we saw Papa Buck get his ass kicked, we're now going to tell the story of why he was so important to the Young Bucks' formative years. This should have been a video package with them talking about. It was a compelling story.
It should have been done 3 weeks ago. It should have been done 3 weeks ago.
It would have made more. I would have cared more about seeing this guy get his ass kicked if they would have talked about how important our dad was. We couldn't afford to go to college. He built this ring for us. He was really supportive. And then when I see that, the bad guys beat him up, I'm going to feel bad about that. And then the last thing that drove me nuts was they're taking the shot at Jericho about if there was no Papa Buck, there'd be no AEW, which means you'd be jerking the curtain at the Performance Center. Stop talking about WWE. They're not going to talk about you. It feels regressive on your end.
Well, they did have the Robert Stone character that was the Tony Khan character.
Yeah, but I think that's just. I don't think Vince even realizes that's a Tony Khan character. I think he just thinks, all right, this guy's being obnoxious. But you don't have to be that winky and smart for your audience.
But also, if he would be curtain jerking at the Performance Center now, why is he headlining your show?
Yeah,
it just makes them look fucking stupid.
Yeah, that, and it's not even true. Jericho would be on Raw, jobbing to Drew to get Drew ready for the main event of Fastlane. That's exactly where Jericho would be. What did you think of this, Scott?
I thought it was fine for what it was. Yeah, it's like super inside. I do not like getting Papa Buck involved at all. But I do think it was the Bucks' best promo. I mean, I don't even know what that's saying, but I think it was.
It was their best promo without a doubt, and they did stick the landing for sure.
Yeah. They figured it out, and I know the match is going to be fun come Sunday. Yeah, it's really.
I'm excited. Next up, we have the Big Show making his AEW debut.
Oh, no, first we had this is Tully and FTR.
Right. I don't have.
I
want to apologize. I don't have the order. What I have is do you want to take it away?
I'm sorry, I got the notes.
Yeah. Okay.
This while you guys were all watching great barbed wire matches, I'm taking notes about Tully and FTR with JJ Dillon.
First off, Tully's fucking gear in this was amazing.
Is that not what Bill Murray? Is that not what Bill Murray wore in Kingpin?
Or Life Aquatic. It's like a combo of both. I loved it.
And JJ Dillon just looks like if Colonel Sanders became a trial lawyer. I fucking love it.
JJ Dillon hasn't aged, which is really scary because he looked this old 30 years ago. I did feel bad when he couldn't get his foot in the ring after the match. They had to help him in. But the match overall I thought it was fun for what it was. But the challenge here is Tully is the nostalgia act, and that by default kind of makes them the baby faces. So when you have a giant dinosaur beating up Tully Blanchard, who am I supposed to be cheering for? Tully was almost sympathetic in some ways, but overall it was fine. The post-match thing where Arn comes out and holds up he's doing the rubbing his chin Arn's not a great actor, and then they hold up the four fingers after Sean Spears made his appearance.
When Arn did that, Arn has gotten so big, it looks like he was just saying, I took 2 shits, 2 number 2s. He just I just took 2 number 2s, that's what it reminded me of. I also wanted to say, I really like the match, but you're right, Robert. Like it would have been so much more effective if half the match it was just totally like fussing with Marco Stunt's hair, like rubbing his head against the mat. Like that's what I would want to see. But instead, you had the beginning of this like kind of new 4 horsemen group, which like David Shoemaker had a better pitch than AEW, where he's like, I hope Cody joins and they start like a new 4 horsemen, which I think that would be a good fit. But
instead it's 4 Paul Romas.
4 Paul Romas. And it's not, there's nothing sadder than Sean Spears coming back with Cody's hairstyle. That is one of the saddest moments.
God, he sucks. I mean, I have clever puns and look-alike jokes and all that, but sometimes you just got to say it for what it is. He fucking sucks. And when it was revealed to be him, you're like, oh, okay.
At least he's not doing the glove thing anymore.
Here's the thing. It's not a return if no one noticed when you were gone. That needs to be said. If no one misses you for a bunch of months, it's not a surprise that you came back. Oh, I guess he's still here.
All I thought was I pictured Peyton Royce dyeing his hair. Like that was the first thing I thought. It's like, this is my big break, honey. Can you please help me with this?
Dude,
so yeah, my thought when I saw him show up, my first thought was like, oh, they kept him and not Matt Cardona, because I knew that was probably the backstage, the Tony Khan budget of it all. You get to keep one friend, Cody, one friend.
My first thought was, oh, here's who actually would be curtain jerking at the performance center.
That is true. That is true. Big Show made his AEW debut with a No More BS shirt. He made a face turn joke, which has kind of been done to death. It's the new My Hole joke.
We did it for 30 minutes on this episode.
Yeah, we did it for 30 minutes. That was actually one of my biggest laughs, was a face turn joke where I shit on someone with cerebral palsy. Guys.
Bell's palsy.
Sorry.
We don't want the palsy community being mad at us.
Yeah.
No, I don't want
We're going to get poorly written letters. They're going to be.
All right. Come on. Let's not. Jesus Christ. That was a Bret Hart stroke joke, guys, not a palsy joke. So who do you think is going to be the big surprise this Sunday? People are saying Christian. Do you think it's going to be Christian? Do you think it's going to be Kurt Angle? Who do you think it's going to be, Mike?
Well, he said star, so I don't think Sean Spears' best outcome is going to be the reveal. And I like Christian. I think with Edge and Roman and all of that, you'll see Christian there. He's still, I think, going to be involved in some tangential way or whatever. They have their network show. So I don't think it'll be Christian. I don't think it'll be Punk. We all wanted to be the guy who said he didn't love us. We just wanted to say he loves us again. I don't think it will be. I honestly think it's going to be Big Show himself. I do. And I'm sorry in advance, but that's what I think.
Jesus Christ. Robert?
All right, here's a couple things. First, the no BS shirt is weird because Big Show is not Cesaro. He's not an internet hero who was never pushed in WWE and the fans love. WWE over pushed him for so long and made him so much money that it's not like I'm finally free. Like he main evented WrestleManias. He made a fortune and it's hard to take it seriously. And I'm finally out. I was worried he was going to be a bad commentator. And then when he mispronounced the name of the pay-per-view on his debut, I was like, thank God we signed him. As far as who the big surprise is going to be, it's not going to be Christian. Christian signed to a deal. Also, how
he's not. I
thought he would. How TNA?
No, that was a 1 day deal.
How TNA would it be if they signed Christian and that's their big star? It also goes to like AEW needs to have faith in who their stars.
What if it was Tomko shows up and?
Oh, that'd be great. It's not gonna be Punk. I think you need to stop hyping. We're signing guys rather than make our guys seem like stars because it's continuing this problem that who I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be AJ Lee. I think if you're going for a Hall of Fame caliber, you need someone for the women's division for people to be excited about. And they know if they bring,
I like that a lot.
If you bring AJ in, people are gonna be like, oh, this means they're going to get Punk. I think it's a good signing for that. It's great for the women's. They need someone for that women's division to make it remotely exciting. And it's going to be that little tease of like, okay, well, if we hire your best friend, you're going to come here, and that's why they want to bring in AJ.
Scott, what do you think? Who do you think it's going to be?
Cool. I mean, my biggest fear is a Mark Henry. I do not want to see something like that happen. Kurt Angle, you go, ooh, I love the idea of picturing him wrestling a Kenny Omega, but it's this current Kurt Angle.
Yeah,
I don't want that at all.
Yeah,
and then you go, okay, RVD, maybe Rob Van Dam, because God, I want Rob Van Dam versus Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn one more time. But Rob Van Dam is, the last time I saw him was like somewhere upstate New York, and he was fucking winded just by pointing at himself 3 times.
And that guy's fucking for 4 hours a day. Like he does not have ring stamina anymore.
I mean, what Bully Ray?
Oh,
that's what I thought too. I thought it could be Bully Ray.
Promos, it could be fun, but you got Eddie Kingston.
Well, the thing is, they said like Hall of Fame worthy, but does that mean they're in the Hall of Fame? Because the Dudleys are.
But listen,
So
this
is
is what
Kurt.
Big Show said. Big Show could have fucked up. Like, Big Show could have said something inaccurate, Maybe it's not Hall of Fame worthy.
The whole time we think it's Easter eggs, and it's just Big Show doesn't know how to talk.
Also, it's never a good idea to tease a surprise like this because it almost never pays off in wrestling. If anything, this should have been how you debut Big Show. There are so many better ways to have debuted Big Show. It should have been Tony Schiavone saying, we have signed a Hall of Fame caliber talent, and you're going to find out who it is at Revolution. And then if Big Show walked out, that would
be awful, though. That would also be like awful.
Because let's be honest, like, why would you debut him on a show where he's not even the biggest guy on the show? Like,
because he's the Big Show. They know his value.
He's the second biggest
he
show.
sucks.
Shaq was much
and so
bigger
you have
than
him host your YouTube thing. And
well, then why would you pay for him, Scott?
Because we don't know how much it is. What if it's not that crazy to Tony
There's
Khan?
no way that guy is working for anything less than
to Tony Khan, though. You don't know. He's a giant that gets to walk around and
$500,000. There's no way that guy's working for less than $500,000 a year.
My circus. It's all like a circus thing.
But
everybody wants to own a giant.
But it's their repetitiveness. Like they did a table spot in the Shaq match, then they did a table spot in the Young Bucks thing right after. You had Shaq come out and he's huge, and you talk about how huge he is, and then you have Paul Wight come out and you talk about how huge he is. It's like, just fucking read your own script.
All right, guys, let's keep going. Sting had a promo with I know this is in order. I skipped over there's the women's tournament final. Ryu.
It was great.
Mizunami versus Nyla Rose. The right person won. They kind of had it was kind of a cool, the shoulders back and forth. I don't know. It was a good, to their credit, it was a good tournament. And they didn't go with Nyla Rose again. I would have had this be the crowning of Britt Baker and just leave that title on her for as long as possible. But that's just me. Sting did a promo. It was fine. Max Caster went up.
Hold on. There was a moment that happened in this because there was, to Mike's point about not list. There was a moment in this that pissed me off to no end with Brian Cage. So earlier in the show, Shaq goes to do the power bomb and he does the Brody Lee spot, the putting your fingers to your lips and pushing it out. And it was great. It was a great moment. Brian Cage goes for a power bomb and he does the exact same Brody spot where he goes to the power bomb, does the Brody kiss to the crowd. Number one, you're doing the same thing that already happened in the show. Number two, it's a fucking babyface spot when you're heels who are trying to murder Sting. It's a level of stupid and disorganized that if I was right, he would have been fired for something as egregious as that, because you're doing something that's wildly stupid. You're exposing you're not watching the show, and you're doing a babyface spot when you're supposed to be doing a heel beatdown, which shows you have no idea what the hell you're doing.
Meow.
Well, also, here's the thing. Like, this is the same Sting segment that we've gotten, right, 12 weeks in a row. I keep saying it. I still want to know what he wants to tell Tony because he's never gotten the chance to. He always gets cut off. I think he's got cancer or something. Like, I think something's wrong with Sting, and Team Taz just keeps interrupting him. But if there was ever a time to put this, like, why would you not have this after the Shaq segment? Like right after, instead of your squad? Because here's the thing. I think Phoenix is a guy that is great enough in the ring that even people who don't watch wrestling can see him and be blown away. That match was not the match to do it, and it wasn't enough of a showcase for how amazing he is. And if you're getting fans who love, like, they didn't even advertise Sting in the first hour of this show. It doesn't make any sense to me. The overlap, I would imagine, of people who watched for Shaq and were fans when Sting was around would probably be rather large, and they just squandered it.
They still haven't figured out TV yet.
No.
Max Caster went up against 10
because they still haven't figured out TV yet.
This was a match that happened.
This was when I stopped enjoying the show so much, but I liked everything up to this point. I swear.
Jack Evans got paid by Big Money Matt $4,500 to go take out a member of the Dark Order. Look, man, I think it's so awesome what they've done for Brody Lee's family. I thought the tribute show was amazing. Can you just put a shirt on his son, though? It's just like a little creepy to have.
Fucking Dan.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like a shirtless masked kid. I don't know. Just something seems like just wear a Brody Lee shirt, right? I mean, I don't know. I just don't. All right. It's just weird to me. It's just a little weird. That's all. I'm not. Look, it's very touching. I just put a shirt on. It's uncomfortable.
That's how I feel about giving 10 TV matches. So I mean.
Hangman Page.
I was gonna say about this. It's like, this is one of those things where if you want to actually push dark as something, have this like be a substantial match on there or something. It just, and because we also need to say, it needs to be pointed out, like Scorpio Sky is trying, but he was not succeeding on commentary.
Oh man, that poor guy.
He was there to make you excited for the big show on commentary.
I think he was diagnosed with Shelton Benjamin's disease.
Yeah, they're like, "Are you ready for Sunday's ladders match?" He's like, "As ready as waking up and existing." They were like, "Excellent."
Hangman, our main event: Hangman Page and John Silver defeated Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn. I like everybody in this match. It didn't seem like much of a main event.
I mean, this is the week where every other week's opener got to be the closer.
Dude, I feel like they
the very end where it was the Dark Order
show.
Yeah, it was a battle royal at the end. This is where there was the big shemaz.
No, but even every go home show, they kind of advertise last. They advertise a match that you really don't give a shit too much about. I don't know.
Scott, Dynamite, NXT, or Jim Cornette watching Dynamite?
Well, no, the real thing was Jim Cornette watching the barbed wire match this weekend, the exploding barbed wire death match. And I will have to say, it is that. For sure.
For sure. Robert?
I need that.
Cornette.
Mike?
I mean, yeah, when you said spending time with my family, I was like, oh, that's a tough one. But Cornette, come on.
Yeah, I gotta go with Cornette too. I didn't love either show this
but
week.
Also they could have been the best shows ever and it still would have been Cornette.
Yeah.
You picked the third option.
Dude,
that's way better
there's
than
nothing
the two shows we talked about.
I've said this before. I'm gonna say it on the podcast in hopes of willing it into existence. But if we could somehow get Cornette on for a Young Bucks roast, I will suck Virgil's dick. Let's get to our Revolution predictions. We are going to be reviewing Revolution right after the show, and the episode will be released Monday morning. But let me pull up this card and see what you guys think. First off, we have the buy-in match, which will be at 7:30. It is Britt Baker and Reba, although she has made hints that she could be replacing Reba, and people are saying it's going to be Zelina Vega. I really have no idea. But she went up against Thunder. She's going to be going up against Thunder Rosa and Riho. Who do you guys got for this, Mike?
Okay.
I predict people will turn on the show at 8:00. No, I think Britt. I mean, Britt is amazing. I agree with you about the tournament. Like, it should be. This is her. Like, she's a star. She's awesome. She has so much charisma. I think her and Jade as a tag team would be amazing because Jade could do all the enforcing and she could do all the talking. So if it's her, that's awesome. But I think Britt wins this one.
Robert?
Yeah, I think Britt. This is her consolation prize.
Scott?
Agree.
I'm going to go with Britt too. Zach?
Britt.
Casino Tag Team Royale. Who do you got, Scott?
Oh gosh, man. I mean, there's so many people, and none of it all. This match does not seem very important to me. Phoenix and Pac.
Yeah.
Pac, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only answer. What do you guys think, Robert?
Top Flight.
Mike?
I think Top Flight is kind of directionless. They're really good, and having that future tag title shot. This is kind of like having the Money in the Bank briefcase, so they can keep wrestling and be like, these guys have a future shot, and building up them against whoever the tag champs are is pretty exciting.
Mike, who do you got?
I just, another plot hole here. Did they ever mention why Penta and Ray aren't together? I know that Penta's in the ladder match, and he didn't have to compete to get in it, and Ray did, and he lost. Like, was there ever a story there, or this is just their bad booking? Okay.
No, man, it's not bad booking.
I wouldn't say it's bad booking.
They're brothers.
They're three. Yeah, no, it's Death Triangle. They're in a stable.
Death Triangle, exactly. And yeah, they might be the Lucha Brothers, but sometimes a friend like Pac comes along and becomes a brother, dude. You know what I'm saying?
I guess them. I mean, they're the closest thing to fully developed characters, so I'll go them.
Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Who do you got, Zach?
I didn't know this match was happening. Miro.
I'm going to go with Miro too. Mike?
Me in the bathroom. I think
Scott.
I think Miro, and I think Miro might end up being in that stable with Tully.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, that's a good pull. Scott?
Yeah, Miro. And then I hope he shows up on TV on Wednesday and acts completely different. Just says he has like seasonal depression and spring is coming and he's feeling better. And
yeah. Robert?
I'd rather watch Mike in the bathroom. So at least that'll be short.
Robert, I have Crohn's, and no, it is not.
Oh, never mind.
And look, spoiler alert: Mike has a huge dick. Keep going, Robert.
It has to be Miro, or else he's got to beg for his release and just pray to go back to Vince.
Here's the thing: I have a big dick, and I'm a huge fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, so I will be blocking Robert from Twitter any day now.
Face of the Revolution ladder match. Man, that is a tortured title. Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky versus Penta El Zero Miedo versus Lance Archer versus Max Caster versus a mystery man. I'm going to go with the mystery man. Mike?
Jake tries to fuck one of the ladders.
If that's fair. Robert?
To win the Face the Revolution ladder title, I think based on his promo skills, it's got to be Scorpio Sky.
Scott?
I think it's the mystery guy, and I'm excited to see who it's going to be, because who could it be?
Ethan
Page, maybe? Yeah, maybe Ethan Page. That's all I could think.
Zach?
Mystery guy.
It is kind of weird if the mystery guy wins, like the face of the Revolution, the guy we just signed from WWE, Adam Page versus Matt Hardy in a big money match. I mean, does anyone not have Adam Page for this?
No.
Oh, it better be Adam Page.
Okay. I mean, Jesus Christ. They better not fucking sacrifice another one of their guys to Matt. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin and Sting. I mean, again, this has got to be Sting and Darby Allin. Does anyone have anything different?
Yeah, it needs to be.
No.
Young, but this is actually a pretty easy pay-per-view to predict. The Young Bucks versus the Inner Circle. This, I mean, I still think it's going to be the Bucks. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I kind of hope they end this Jericho MJF thing, because both of them could be used on the roster, helping building other guys who aren't as good as promos. But instead, they have them as a team, and it's just been very WCW-esque as far as the faction, infighting. I don't know, man. It really wasn't for me. It isn't for me. Even though I love those two guys. I want to see them break up soon, just so they can go on and do other things. Who do you got? Young Bucks or Inner Circle, Mike?
I say this is Sammy comes back and cost MJF and Jericho, and Sammy is revealed as the Hall of Fame level talent that Big Show was promising because he forgot that he's actually on the roster already.
Robert,
exactly what Mike said. I had written Bucks are going to win because of Sammy.
Scott,
Bucks win, but Good Brothers as well as Sammy. There's going to be, more going on. Maybe some Papa Buck makes a cameo.
Oh, they're gonna do like a triple super kick.
Yeah. He blows pot smoke in in Jericho's face, and he's like,
dude,
"What the fuck?"
Their dad is like the prototypical Trump hippie,
Yeah.
Kiroshita versus the person that I just said, who I don't have her name.
Ryo
I mean, Sheeta's gonna win, right? Anyone else?
Yeah, okay. But I think this match is going to be awesome, and I think I think this match is going to be awesome.
Kenny and our main event, exploding barbed wire death match. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. Does anyone not have Kenny Omega?
Nope.
No, I have Kenny Omega, but it would be interesting if he lost, because if he loses, that means he's going overseas or something, because why would you have him lose? So
well, I think we could. Hopefully, we see the debut of Okada here, but I don't think that's possible, right?
I don't think it's possible. He just wrestled today in Japan.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. You would have to quarantine for too long.
Well, I guess he wouldn't technically in America. You don't have
Jericho
to, right?
cleared him.
Back,
Jericho said he's fine.
Holy shit! What if it's fucking Naito because he lost to Okan today? No, it wouldn't be him.
You had a whole conversation with yourself there.
Yeah.
Number 10, mark out moment of the week. I'll start off first. I have two. I have Turkey Tits, obviously. Shout out to Conrad Thompson, our podfather. But I also am going to say, on Sunday night after, I forget what I even watched on Sunday night, but after the Golden Globes, that's right. That's what I watched. I watched Ring of Honor, and the main event between Roosh and Shane Taylor was great. And the reason this was a mark out moment for me is there is just so much good wrestling on right now. And like a promotion that I don't even pay attention to, delivered in a match, a cold match for me. I thought Shane Taylor was an excellent promo, and Roosh in the ring is awesome. What was your mark out moment of the week, Mike?
I'm gonna go with I would say, fuck, I had it so up in my head. I'm gonna go.
We can go back. I'm
gonna go to Jade Cargill doing flexing while she had someone in the figure four. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was something I'd never seen before. Maybe Scott Steiner did it at some point, but it was just a hilarious, dominant heel moment. Oh, and I didn't pick who I thought Sting, and I do think it will be Sting and Darby, because it already has been for the last 14 weeks. I'm just excited to see this feud be over.
Yeah.
My mark-up moment of the week has to be Lashley winning the title for two reasons. One, just as an old school wrestling fan, to have a world title change on free TV, growing up for years, not getting to watch pay-per-views live, that was always a big deal. There was a world title change that happened on free TV this week. I was there for Lashley's debut. I got to see when they told him, hey, you're going to be on TV tonight for the first time, and how excited he was. And I knew the promise and potential that he had and was squandered for so long. It's a great redemption story, and I'm genuinely happy for Lashley.
Scott?
Mark out moment. Okay, there was a submission hold that El Desperado put Kota Ibushi in the last 2 minutes of the match today. I thought that was awesome. But then also, dude, Shaq going through the table. It's perfect. It's pro wrestling. I loved the shit out of it. I could not believe the match was working out the entire time, and it was just blowing my mind that it didn't suck.
What's interesting is that I read like someone saying like, yeah, it was only that good because they mapped it all out. I'm like, yeah, do that more. Like that's why
fine.
the Great Warrior matches or like, you know, Savage Steamboat. It's like, yeah,
why is there such hatred towards mapping stuff out?
Wrestling would be better if it was scripted.
I know, like the whole like, yeah, two guys can have like a wing it match where they do a bunch of kickouts and the same shit you see every week on NXT, but it's like mapping it out and being like, oh, you know what? We did do this, you know, so let's do this. Like that helps. So I think that shit's great sometimes.
Zach, did you have one for this week?
Lashley winning the title for sure by a wide margin.
You know, I'm going to switch my choice to Lashley winning the title. Like seeing those like for real tears in his eyes was pretty great.
It was a great moment. And I think, you know, you got to give TNA some credit in terms of both Lashley and McIntyre went there after kind of not great WWE runs and became main eventers.
Did we ever come up with, do you think Lashley has a sillier voice than Brock?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Okay. Seth Rollins?
No.
And then finally, Lex Luger. It really is like the four guys I mentioned. It's like the Mount Rushmore of sounding like you're angry at your older brother. Like, stop! You know, don't hurt me. The stuff sounds like Mom!
Yeah, clear anger issues.
You just sound like Cartman being the Penguin right now.
All right, folks, we are going to be back next week with the roast of Virgil. Patreon, we're going to have Revolution. Thank you so much for tuning in the past week. Teddy Hart is going to be next week's Patreon. We have a YouTube channel. We're going to put the Roast of the Big Show on it. The Roast of Bret Hart is already on there. So check that out. And do you guys have anything? Oh, please, if you're a new listener, give us 5 stars. Leave a review. Tell your friends about it. And thanks for sticking around. Thanks for sticking for the you know, the second roast in a row. I mean, you know, it's our 4th roast in a row, but the second roast, I think, where we actually knew what we were doing. Yeah. Mike, what do you have to promote?
They left already, Dan. They're gone. They're gone.
If a best friends match can get 5 stars, then God damn it, our podcast can too.
That's a good one. That's a good point.
You know, MikeLawrenceComedy.com and buy my album.
Scott and Robert.
Listen to my other podcast, Garbage Days with Brennan Sagalow.
You can follow me on Twitter at WWCreative_ISH and at ProWrestlingTees.com. There's a sale going on right now. I got a couple of shirts up there, the ones that you've seen me wear during the roasts. The keyword is madness. Save you some money. Thanks for listening. I don't know.
Zach.
Wash your hands.
See you next week, folks.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.